O mes einam ties to. Jeigu kalbėsiu, girdėsis? Jau aš atmutinta?
Ką?
Atmutinta aš? Tai viskas, ne? So good evening, everyone. It's great to see you again. It definitely is a nice evening, has a Christmas mood. Everyone I meet, I want to say Merry Christmas. It's not yet, but we're definitely in the mood and we're wrapping up the year. So welcome, everyone. It's good to see you. It's a third year for me, but I bet the fifth or seventh for some of in the audience. So let's wrap up the year that it has been. So without any further ado, I just want to quickly introduce you to the agenda, what you can expect today. We have some very special guests that we're going to say the welcome words, and we're going to have a lot of smart people wrapping up this year with their short presentations. And then we're going to finish it with a panel discussion. What has it been for fintechs this year? You will be able to ask the questions to the panelists, which is great because you're live here. And the last, but definitely not least, I can tell by the way you've been talking to each other, and it was difficult to invite you to come and finally sit down, so you can continue the talking over a great networking part, which this year is actually laid out by us by Huddlestock. So I hope you keep your calendars free for tonight, because it's going to be a great time to catch up and network. Since I mentioned Christmas, I would like to tell you that Christmas arrived early for you, because we are going to do a FinTech Day, a FinTech dedicated conference for the third time again in 2024, which is on the 8th of February. So as I say, anyone who's someone in fintech is going to be there. So we have a very special QR code just because you came here to the wrap up of the year. It's valid only for 24 hours, and it gives you a 50% discount of already a very symbolic price for the fintech conference. So it's going to be our third. We have grown from the small community gathering to, I'd like to say, a flagship event in the Baltics. We have outgrown these premises and actually going to have the conference in Vaida Theater this year. And Camilla and the team doing a really good job scouting the star speakers from Baltics, Nordics, and United Kingdom. So do secure your place. As I mentioned, this code is valid for 24 hours, and there's no better time than now to use it. Okay, with that intro, I will remind you of this again at the end of this presentation. But with that intro, I would like to, without any further ado, to invite a very special guest to open up this for us. So Vaida Merkevičienė, Vice Minister of the Ministry of Finance of Lithuania. Always pleasure. Vaida.
Hello, it's a pleasure for me to be here, and this now has become an annual tradition, so it's great to see so many faces, I would say, of the colleagues, because we really have spent a lot of time together this year discussing various things. And since today it's a wrap-up of a year, it's our celebration, what I can say is that we did it. No, Lithuania is a fintech hub of Europe, and even though here internally we always strive to do something better, something more, faster, as we say, we are really satisfied and we are always hungry. When I come abroad, fintech is definitely a success story. And we use it when we even talk about other sectors. For example, when we talk about our green transition, we use an example of a fintech sector, and we base on this success story now to improve other areas as well. And when I'm asked, what is that success story? My main answer is ecosystem. It's all of you, it's all of us, and the things we are doing together. So here we have, open-minded government, we have a positive regulator, we have all of you market participants that are very actively involved in making our ecosystem better. And when we talk about any breakthrough in any of the area, I would say that having strong ecosystem, it's a key aspect. And ecosystem is something like a relationship. You can't just, copy it. You have to, work on it yourself, and it requires time and effort. And both time and effort is something that I think we all have invested constantly, and that's why we have results. And when we look at the results, this year I would say was very productive, because now we have guidelines approved, so we know where the sector is going to go in the upcoming 5 years. We did it all together. The process was lengthy. It wasn't always easy, but we managed to see beyond our all differences and see that common goal. And now we have a plan, we have commitment from different institutions and different stakeholders. And in our plan, we have around 50 different actions by more than 25 different stakeholders. And this is really something that is, very hard to just duplicate. And if we go deeper, so what those guidelines say, so we focus on 5 aspects. First of it is qualitative growth. So how do we make Lithuania a fintech hub of Europe that grows in quality? So we have to, encourage attract the capital. We have infrastructure. There was probably some word that not everyone heard, so it will remain a secret in what we have to focus first. The other aspect is, that we have to work on some challenges that our ecosystem faces, and sometimes these challenges or this need that the business have to overcome, they even go beyond the fintech sector. And there is something that we as government have to do for all the businesses to prosper, especially when it comes to the digital agenda, to the data availability. Our second aspect is, of course, attracting of innovative solutions to Lithuania. And we know that our fintech sector is not only licensed institutions, but also tech solution providers. And we feel that before they had less attention. Now they are on the same footing in our guidelines, also as the licensed institutions. Third aspect is, of course, competences. And here, of course, we need talent for our ecosystem, our sector to grow, because behind any institution, behind any company, we have skilled people, talented people that drive all the projects forward. So we are cooperating with universities, with other educational institutions to make this work. And also we want to establish Lithuania, especially Vilnius, as a hub also when it comes to international institutions. And probably all of you heard that we have recently submitted an application for Lithuania to become home of anti-money laundering institution. And we are really rooting for it to be successful. And we already added 1 member to our ecosystem. So this year we also established Green Finance Institute that will contribute a lot to fintech ecosystem by making database available to everyone, but also by sharing competences in the green finance area. Our 4th goal is to have Lithuania as a safe jurisdiction, and even now we have a very good result. So when it comes to AML security, we are one of the least risky jurisdictions. When it comes to cyber crimes, we are also ranking very high into those security indexes, but we can never be calm and rest, because we know that our geopolitical location is not very favorable, and we have aggressors on our borders that constantly test our vigilance. So we have to kind of constantly work and improve, so we don't leave any loopholes for ML risks or cyber crimes to crawl into. And the final aspect is, of course, spreading the word and communicating about our success abroad, because that also helps companies to grow, to expand, and offer their products way broader in our countries than it currently is. So I would like to finish by saying that we did a lot in this year. We now have a shared goal. We have KPIs that we can measure if our actions are effective. And I can say that, it required a lot of effort, but it was also a very inspiring exercise. And me personally, I'm very happy to be part of this community. Whenever I meet you, whenever I work with you, I get inspired. So I would like to wish you all, the stakeholders, the dreamers, the creators, a very productive year. And let's implement what we have agreed. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Which mic I'm using, I don't know. 2 mics for me. I would like now to invite our next speaker, Simonas Krėpšta, the board member of Bank of Lithuania. Without any further ado, please welcome on stage. It's lovely to have you here every year.
Hello, and thanks for inviting. I have 3 goals today. First of all, I would like to share some selective insights from the supervisory perspective on market development, which happened in 2023. Number 2, I have to reflect on some lessons learned, which I hope will be valuable for you next year. And last but not least, I will discuss a bit on some highlights which could be important for 2024. So. When I was thinking how I can summarize 2023, 2 words came to my mind: diversity and growth. I think growth is every year's word in the fintech industry. We are seeing growth in terms of numbers, and this year was not the exception. I will show later on. But I think what is more important, 2023 was also kind of the first step where we saw a real and measurable growth of maturity and common understanding, I think, between the market, and I feel very positive about that. Diversity is another important thing which you should be proud of. It was not only paytech, which was growing quite rapidly this year. We also saw quite a lot of growth in wealth tech and crowdfunding, and I will share you some numbers. So first of all, if we look at our main part of the fintech, the payment fintech market, and this is one way to look at it. We see how many clients are being served by institutions which are licensed, supervised, and regulated in Lithuania. So now we are topping to the 27 million. So 1 out of 10 adults in Europe are using at least one of the services provided in Lithuania. This is a big number. We saw quite a rapid growth in 2022. This year we saw really big new market players coming into the market and getting the payment license. So I will not be surprised if this number climbs up to 50 million in just a year or 2. So we as a supervisor were, of course, preparing for that. That means a lot of new instruments, resources, efforts, but also I think it's a good news for the market and for our ecosystem in general. It goes without saying it brings responsibility for our communities as well. Now, some reflections about the lessons we saw in the payment sector this year, and there were quite a number of lessons. And these lessons could be summarized in 3 main areas, I think. First, we saw some challenges with proper control of third parties. And fintech, I guess, is by definition, dependent and accelerating open banking platforms, and their third parties are a critical component of this flexibility and growth. That is natural. But on the other hand, working with a lot of third parties means a very complex project. And here, proper controls by the licensed institution are critical. And we saw that these institutions which have proper controls did much better than those which slipped on this area. Second thing, capital. Capital is like bread and butter for supervision, but it's critical for every financial institution, basically to withstand any shock which comes. It's natural. We have a lot of shocks nowadays. We have macro shocks, we have geopolitical shocks, market shocks, and of course the business model is also very volatile. So we took quite a lot of effort on having proper capital calculations in payment sector, and we see some positive developments here as well. And third, we were also focusing on customer service, and we see a number of complaints coming to the regulator, which is a sign that probably the customer service could be improved at several institutions. So at the central bank, we are devoting quite a lot of resources, because customer service and complaints are very much related to fraud. So fraud prevention is one of our strategic goals, and we have a dedicated team working on that, and probably you saw some new guidelines coming up on fraud prevention. So we are very excited to have this continuous dialogue until these guidelines are finalized and taken into reality. Now, this phrase on top, it's coined by Benjamin Franklin in the early 18th century, and I think it's very valid this year. So we really try to devote quite a lot of resources in talking to you. This year, just in the first 6 months, we had quite a lot of events. We directly had around 400 participants in our training events just in the first 6 months of this year. Together with the EML Center of Excellence, the number was 3,000. So we really are happy about your interest, and we really would like to share as much as possible in these training events to know, for you to know our expectations. And we also, of course, try to do more and more this kind of informal communication with you before we go to some technical supervisory measures. So dear CLO letters and other communication, we think it's critical, and we will continue on that next year. Now, shall we look at another sector which was growing really rapidly this year? Obviously, we had the EU regulation coming into force in 2023. And we had relicensing of crowdfunding platforms. And the result, I think it's quite positive. Lithuania is number 3 in Europe in terms of European licenses. So we are only behind France and Netherlands, and in front of other big countries. And then, again, I think a big sign of growing maturity in the market, and really strong crowdfunding market in Lithuania, which is, in a sense, a role model for many European countries. So now crowdfunding platforms will be able to provide services in the whole European Union and the whole market with 500 people living in. It will be uniform requirements, and last but not least, better investor protections. And I think customers and clients see these positive developments. So if we look at what is happening in the market, on the right-hand side, we see that the annual growth in crowdfunding, it's 30% in terms of transactions, the sums rates, and plus 50% plus in terms of transaction, which is a really rapid growth, and also increasing number of projects. So crowdfunding was one of the fastest growing part of fintech ecosystem in 2023. Another sector which made a breakthrough this year was wealth tech industry. We see that a number of clients covered by our financial institutions providing wealth tech services, was something around 200,000 over the years. But now we have more than 2 million clients covered by financial institutions licensed in Lithuania. That's tenfold increase. And I think that's also gives much new opportunities for also Lithuanian citizens to get better wealth tech services. So in the market, robo-advisors, digital broker, micro-investing, it's kind of the common practice right now, and I think it's very valuable. It's also connect with our another ambition together with the Ministry of Finance on developing capital markets. So every day, citizens of Lithuania are able to get top-notch financial services in terms of wealth. And we also see that this market is really active. We see really big players being interested in Lithuania and starting their positions in Lithuania and probably getting a license. So few really well-known players are interesting to enter this market within the next few years. Now, when I was thinking about 2024, what two words could be key next year? So my best guess is AI and of course crypto. So first on AI, I guess you are using it already. Everybody does that. But I just wanted to share with you some results of our quite basic ICT horizontal analysis we did this year, and I thought it's quite really basic feedback from this horizontal analysis that could be valuable for you going to the next level and using AI much more broadly. So this horizontal analysis, the takeaways are several of them. First, the analysis showed that it's critical for the top management of every financial company to be aware of ICT risks and to understand risks and the level and the risk profile of the company. That is critical, and some companies do that, but others should excel on that. Secondly, every company, every financial company should have an ICT strategy in place, which makes the whole process of adaptation and of new technologies much more smoother. And last but not least, such basic things as testing and business continuity is also key. And we saw that we saw some incidents with some companies over the course of 2023. And some companies were much more resilient. So I would say it's just basic stuff, but these are like foundations for new technologies to be adopted. It goes without saying again that the third-party service providers are critical to fintech, and proper controls should be in place. And also, while doing a lot of outsourcing, companies still should retain control of some critical functions. I don't speak about physical control, but more in terms of understanding and being able to react to difficult situations, which comes from time to time. Now, I would like to finish my presentation with some words on crypto sector. Obviously, we will have I would say a structural reform in crypto sector within the next year, both in Lithuania but also in Europe as well. But Lithuania is critical and exceptional in a number of ways, and I will show in next slide a bit what is the crypto sector market right now in Lithuania. But you all know, new legislations comes into force. EMTRT and other crypto assets will be legalized and regulated in Europe. We are ahead of other regions. You all know that the US, they are still kind of imposing regulation through court decisions. But in Europe, we have a full set of regulations. This regulation also devotes quite a lot of resources and attention to consumer protection and innovation. So a lot of stuff on handling of complaints, disputes, and things like that will also be in place, and basically crypto sector will be regulated as a typical financial institutions. Now, we made a short survey on our market participants, and we saw that out of basically 200 market participants, EMIs, payment institutions, banks, 10% are planning to actively use several types of crypto services. So that makes quite a number, 20, 30 companies or so. On the other hand, we currently have more than 500 crypto asset service providers registered in Lithuania, not yet supervised and registered, which is the second biggest number in Europe. Now, crypto world, we are not supervising the sector, so our analysis could be a bit, kind of not as deep as in other sectors. But my take on crypto sector in Lithuania is that it is basically upside down. We know that there are opportunities in the sector. We know that tokenization could be really valuable, and some companies are working on that, and that could make some processes really much more efficient, custody, settlement, and so on. On the other hand, I think we have much more risks in the sector. We made a quite simple analysis. We took some of these 540 companies and made a simple analysis on their website, on the services provided, and the outcome was not so great. We saw quite a lot of websites with clear signs of fraud. We saw some entities under investigation in other European countries, including criminal investigations. We saw some commercials that these companies are absolutely AML KYC free and other interesting stuff. So I think it's about time to put some order in this sector, and we really support some legislative proposals which came up from our Ministry of Interior Affairs on some quick fixes and some solutions on existing market. And of course, then crypto will be regulated when MiCA comes into force, and there is a political agreement in the back of Lithuania will be a supervisory authority together with our FIU. So in a sense, we will have this kind of enhanced supervision. So will be an exciting year in 2024. So I stop here. Happy to take some questions.
There is one question here. Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, you can hear me. Simonas, thank you for your presentation. I have two questions related to crypto. So first will be on MiCA. So when you envisage that you will start a licensing process, because it's not clear right now. I think Estonian regulator already indicated that they will start licensing process next year, probably in September. So do you have any date in mind when you will open these gates and like crypto service providers can apply for license? The first question, and the second question related to crypto is there is a lot of debate in the US right now, and SEC is under pressure to approve first Bitcoin spot ETF. I don't know whether you are following news, but it basically will mean that retail investors will have can buy ETF, yes, Bitcoin ETF on stock exchange, sell and so on. So now it drives like Bitcoin price up. So do you envisage that such type of ETF will be approved in European Union? Thank you.
So thanks. And on Estonia, I think they are already basically making licensing of crypto asset service providers. I guess the sound is back. So Estonia, they license crypto asset service providers, and I think it won't be a big change for them. They have this national regulation in place. And fun fact, at some point, Estonia had 1,500 crypto asset service providers. And do you know how many they have now? It's something around 25 or 30. It's going down every week, I think. So that means that, it's not easy to get a crypto service license. It could be compared to investment fund or EMI or something like that. Now on Lithuania, so the legislative process is ongoing. So it will depend on political process how we proceed. What we are ready as a supervisor, we are ready to start with the pre-assessment phase, which several months before MiCA comes into place, which could be a good opportunity for market players to make these initial applications, and also for us to learn, to understand, to get a better grip on the market and to start the process. So when MiCA comes into place, so we could proceed on a much quicker base. On the ETF, I was in US several weeks ago, and they are really kind of tough on crypto at the moment. And these news on Binance are not so encouraging, and that also, reiterates the risks I was talking about. So I don't know what the US will do, but definitely the concept of MiCA is pretty clear. Crypto is another kind of asset. It should be regulated as other investment assets. Of course, it's risky, it's volatile, but it's a normal part of business. That's the idea on regulation in Europe.
Right, thank you very much. If there's no more questions, let's give a round of applause. And now we've heard from the regulator, we've heard from the Minister of Finance, and let's hear from the fintech themselves. One of the events that happened this year is that Fintech LT has a new head, and which one I would like to invite. Krėpšta, please take the stage.
Thank you so much, Lina, for the warm introduction. Happy to be here. As Lina said, I'm the new head of Fintech Hub. I started 2 months ago, but I definitely saw Vaida somewhere here. I don't know. Yeah, she's waving. If you have some questions for her, please do ask her something. But yeah, I started 2 months ago, so I'm hoping to give maybe a fresh perspective as someone who's new at the sector. I think this is an old presentation, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. The contents are still there. I wanted to touch upon 3 things today. So it's the achievements, challenges, and then a wish for 2024. As someone, I'm more used to being at the background of this format, and I'm standing in front. So I thought that I might mix it up a little bit and invite some of our companies to also stand here today and present their year. So I invited Darius Kulikauskas, CEO at Parvesk, Bradney Bankera, Kristina Domavičienė, CFO from Paystrax, and then, of course, Juozas Kaminskas, CEO at Nuvei, and they will also talk about their year when I present, the association. I will start with the achievements and the achievements from the administration side. So I would say that our biggest achievement in 2023 was representation. We are growing, maybe not that much in numbers, but as you know, Bank of Lithuania likes the word maturity, so we are also maturing, and then a lot of more companies are getting involved, more people are getting involved in our activities, and of course the information exchange is happening very frequently, and I do believe that we have a stronger stance in the ecosystem, and our goal is, to be an elephant who can make a change and advocate for the sector. So our goal is to be bold and to advocate and to really show the issues and the challenges that the sector is facing. Now, about the achievements. So currently we have 64 members, 51 of them are electronic money institutions, 4 payment institutions, 3 credit institutions, 6 of our companies are others, so they are not financial service providers per se, and we also have 13 sponsors. And in this year, we already had 25 internal events and trainings. So, of course, companies are getting a lot of questions. Companies have a lot of questions, and they're coming to us for answers. So we're trying to work on that and to provide some information and be that intermediary between the companies and, of course, the governmental institutions. We're really happy that we were included in the MOU regarding fintech strategy. Of course, for those who know me, maybe I'm not the one to comment on the fintech strategy, but it's a great achievement to have market participants involved, and it shows public-private partnership that I believe you wouldn't find anywhere else in the EU or maybe in the world. We as association have 4 working groups for CEOs, IML, compliance, and ICT. So these are the 4 main lines that we are focusing on to have the cooperation in those. And what is missing, because as I said, it wasn't all the presentation, it's a cooperation with the universities. We already have some programs, because talent is one of the biggest issues. So we are working with both with universities and schools to solve that. Of course, these are the achievements, but my main role here is to talk about the challenges and advocate for those challenges. So the biggest challenge in 2023 was letting companies to scale up. What we feel in this sector is that we are hearing a lot of words, a lot of promising words about how we are fintech friendly, how we are letting companies scale up, how we are in fintech center of Europe, but this is not reflected in the actions. Of course, I brought some examples. I will present them a little bit later, but the expectations for the sector currently are really high. Just some of the examples, you have to employ more people. You have to invest into R&D, or you have to be innovative. You should serve only low-risk clients. You should always be a straight A student when it comes to requirements, right? No flexibility. You have to always be straight A student. But then what we are forgetting that most of the companies are no older than 3 years. We need to take it step by step. The expectations, I'm not challenging the market is not challenging the expectations. They are right. Everyone would like to achieve that, but we just need time to do it. To employ more people, every company wants to employ more people. The problem is we need a budget. Everyone needs a budget, but as you can see, more than half of our companies are still not profitable. So, we need to grow, we need to have more clients, we need to earn more money to be able to employ more people and to invest into innovative solutions. Also, we are hearing about risk-based approach in terms of regulation, but we're not seeing that in practice. What we see is rules-based approach, and of course, no proportionality in terms of requirements, especially when it comes to micro and small companies. And of course, lack of clarity regarding requirements. It might seem that everything is clear when it is written in the law, but we can see that it's not. The companies have a lot of questions, and the problem is that sometimes the doors are shutting. From the governmental institutions to the companies. We want to be the intermediary, so we hope to be the intermediary and to provide the clarity for the market. Number of employees, you can see. In this strategy, there is the KPI that 70% of companies should employ more than 10 people by 2028. Am I yes? So we are almost there. Our association is almost there. Less than 10 employees are in 33% of our companies, and everyone else is higher. And of course, to bring these challenges to you, I need to give you examples, of course, because otherwise it's also only words. So in my 2 months in the association, I already saw 3 very clear examples how sometimes we only talk about fintech, but we not put it in action. First one would be IML Competence Center. If you look at the concept of the IML Competence Center, fintech was used as an argument to create the center, right? Why we need it? Because the fintech sector is growing, we are employing more people, people are working in the IML sector, we need more clarity, we need IML Competence Center. However, fintechs are still not, we can't be members right now. I'm sure that many of you know why, what's the reason, but we have a few of the stakeholders. So it would be, my wish for 2024 would be for, other stakeholders to also step up and then to bring this issue once again. Second example would be a proposal for national IML law. It just came out. It's gonna be talked about, I'm sure, in the parliament next week. And there is a requirement regarding CASPs and their initial capital that they have to open up accounts in credit institutions. Credit institutions, for those who do not know, are banks and credit unions. For us, for fintechs, for electronic money institutions, this seems a little bit bizarre. And a very good example, because let's be real, crypto companies are big clients of electronic money institutions. And if we have this kind of requirement, it means that commercial banks will not open up accounts for cryptos, and then EMIs will also lose their clients. So the question is who we are hurting, cryptos, EMIs, or both? Or maybe it was just a mistake. But these are the kind of paradoxes that we are seeing. And the last one, of course, sometimes we're talking about the regulation, about the supervision, but these examples are coming from, very different points. So the last one I wanted to show you was Innovation Agency. Also, Ministry of Economy and Innovation is saying, oh, we're so open to fintech companies, fintech sector is booming, we are the center of fintech, and they are providing financial incentives for specific activities, right? This is the goal of the Innovation Agency. And it is said that fintech is in their agenda under the ICT. Sorry if it's too, it's too concrete, but it is in their agenda. But then we are getting, projects. It's about international expos and how you can get financing to go into international exports. But in order to apply to the project, you have, there are some specific conditions, what kind of services you can provide. And this financial services and insurance, which is under, the letter K, is not included. Once again, why? So these are just 3 examples that happened in the last 2 months, how we are saying things, but not putting it into practice. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that and, to be a little bit more realistic and to advocate so that we wouldn't have these kind of paradoxes in 2024. So my wish for the next year is just to be a little bit more open, to look at things from the market perspective. I can give you an example from, my own example. Before coming to the Fintech Hub LT, I worked with the Digital Operational Resilience Regulation, which is DORA in short, shortened term DORA. I was representing Lithuania in the council working group. When I was there representing Lithuania and I was reading the requirements, everything seemed clear to me. Financial institutions shall have a policy, procedure, methodology, etc. I thought, fine, that's, easy to understand. After that, I had a chance to work, to help one company to prepare a gap analysis on what they have and what they should change in the company in order to comply with DORA. And then suddenly, those requirements became so unclear. And there are so much room for interpretation and, a lot of parts to be clarified. And when we are, ignoring the fact that the clarification is needed, or when we are shutting the doors for that, it's that's when the paradoxes come. So let's be a little bit more open to ask the market, to actually consult with the market, and when consulting, to actually hear what we have to say. Thank you. That is from my side. But now, of course, let's hear it from the companies themselves. And I would like to ask Darius first.
Thank you, Greta. And let me just start by saying that I'm extremely happy to be here to provide my take on challenges, wishes, and achievements for this year. So my slides might look a bit off. We've invested quite some time on animating them. Turned out the computer that hosts these slides crashes if they try to play them back. So we have what we have. So without any animations, I have this map, and I'll go through it step by step. So who are we, Bankera? So we are one of the electronic money institutions here in Lithuania. We are funded by Lithuanian founders, and basically one of the few that are actually of Lithuanian origin. So a bit a different duck in the pond, but still one of the players. Extremely happy to have all the international peers here operating in Lithuania. It actually allows us to grow in a challenging environment which pushes us forward. We've been around since 2018, so for 5 years now. Basically not the newest addition to the Lithuanian industry, but if you compare us to anyone in finance industry, we are very, very fresh. So growth was the biggest achievement for us this year. And it might seem very trivial at first, like growth is like in any industry, take any business, it's what they are striving for, what they are looking to achieve. But for fintech companies, for any upstarts, growth comes with a lot of challenges, especially in a compliance-intensive industry. So if you take any metric like staff count, transactions processed, number of customers, revenue, more or less, we've achieved twofold growth this year, even though the year has not officially ended. We are projecting that carefully that it's going to be something like that. So I'm extremely proud that this country, this industry, and our team are here for us and allows us to achieve this. Now, of the challenge. So challenge is something that probably quite a lot of our colleagues here have already faced here. We are not operating in a vacuum. Even in Lithuania, we have some bad apples, but like if you take the Europe as a whole or the world as a whole, you have to compete with other companies that are after the same niche, after the same market. And this means that they sometimes compete in compliance, in being faster by cutting corners in compliance department. We've been, and this is an anecdote on a slide, but it's from real life. We've had quite a few of these in practice where someone that applied for an account suddenly changed their mindset. Sorry, we don't need your account. Your competitor is faster. Usually, the customer takes a chance and an advantage of the situation by involving a few stronger words in their communication because they don't really like compliance questions. But I'm not allowed to put those words on the slide. But after a while, they come back and suddenly they are your newly found best friend again. So yeah, this is challenging, and the competitive environment in this area is very, very tough. Even though it seems like this is a licensed activity, so it should be closer to monopolistic competition than perfect competition, but financial services are in themselves almost perfect substitutes, so you are competing in a very tough environment. And our wish for 2024 is actually, it might come as a surprise to quite a few of you, is for the Bank of Lithuania to increase their resources. I think this is a key recipe to solve most of those issues that allow this competition in compliance to happen. And I know Lithuania covers only a small portion of Europe. Still, we will have to compete with companies from outside Lithuania with their supervisory frameworks, and even with the best efforts in EU, there are still some differences. However slight they might be, they compound, and in reality, they might become quite significant. So, but this still would allow the industry to get better attention from the supervisor and so on. So I wish you luck in this department. I know how hard it can be to actually secure additional resources for such matters. And these are pretty much my slides. So thank you for attention. There was supposed to be an animation of zooming out, so use your imagination, and thank you.
Thank you, Darius. Now let's hear it from Christina, Paystracks.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon to everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here today and present the company. I was asked to be brief, so I will try, and we'll start with information about Paystracks. So Paystracks is payment services provider that provide payment processing solutions for POS and e-commerce merchants in all European countries. Paystracks was established in 2018 and was licensed by Bank of Lithuania. As well, after that, we received principal licenses by Visa and MasterCard. So our main focus is payment services provision for Visa and MasterCard cards. As well, we started to service Amex. Paystracks this year received FCA Payments Institution license to cover our UK market. And actually, we signed up our first customer just in 2021, and now we have more than 500 customers. So we're constantly growing. It's worth to mention that our customers is business customers. So we're growing just not in terms of merchants, revenues, but in terms of employees as well. Last year, we finished with 40 employees, and now we have 77 employees in 4 offices. Our main office is here in Vilnius, and last year we established a small office in Klaipėda, which is not so small anymore. It has 30 employees. As well, we have office in Brighton, which dedicated to serve UK market, and small satellite office in Iceland. So actually about our achievements. We received this year a couple awards. One of them was Global Payment Innovation Award for being the best acquiring bank for acquiring services in Lithuania. As when we won Fintech Award for the Growth Story of the Year. And we are trying to continue that, our growth. The last item, as well, very important for us, and that we are proud for being involved in the list of most desirable employers, list published by Verslo žinios. And actually, we want to be the place where people like to work and love to work. So, but success is not a given, and we face a lot of challenges as a company. So fast growth is a challenge itself. We need to speed everyone, to train all employees, because we are adding newcomers. We need to train them acquiring, since acquiring is not something that you can learn in a university. So we put a lot of emphasis on this. Another very big challenge, I would say, is government's burden for us, because for small licensed entities, where a lot of requirements in ML, CTF, risk management, and GDPR. We are following them, but 70% of our employees, from 77 employees, 70% employees are working in risk management or compliance. So in our view, it's a bit out of proportion, and it's very hard to compete with big companies. Yeah, and the last challenge, it's like keep on growing because we put a lot of efforts to get new business, and some customers just don't understand the hard compliance requirements and find another supplier. So in order to help us grow, please use Visa and MasterCard. Yeah, and our wishes. So Pistrak's wishes for next year is for more peace and for best of success to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Christina. Now, last but not least, Juozas Kaminskas, Nuvei.
Hello, everyone. So nice to be here again, and such a lovely crowd. So I expect that you not get bored by all the presentations, so I'll share my bit as well. Today, I'm very proud to be standing also here on behalf of Nuvei. So the ones that didn't recall the name, with the ones that went a little bit kick the butt for the big competitors like Aiden and Stripe in the region. And we are one of the biggest acquirers around the world, covering all of the card schemes in the acquiring space. And as you can see on the map, in all of the countries on the map, we have already local offices in most of the countries with the license set up for the acquiring. What is exciting to say about Lithuania and our presence in Lithuania, it's one of the examples where the big company came into the market through the successful M&A. So there was a deal that we successfully closed in 2021. By that, as a result, throughout 2 years journey, we finally this year successfully moved the product of the previously former company of Simplex into the brand of Nuvei. So this was one of the key achievements to bring the local 2 product lines to be Nuvei product lines. So as of March this year, we stand behind the Nuvei flag, and the local company is strategically further on developing 2 products. These 2 products are very unique in the offering of Nuvei, because as of today, Nuvei was only the acquirer. So there was no desire to open the business accounts for the merchants. We were using third parties, in most of the cases, other EMIs. So now we are a little bit insourcing that part of the business. And that's why I'm very excited that the team locally is playing a key role, instrumental role, to bring that product to life. Where are we coming next? Of course, with this achievement, throughout the merger, throughout all the efforts to bring business accounts, we made also the issuing product available this year. And by doing so, we just started to tap the existing merchant portfolio. So for the next year, we're looking to expand. We're looking to offer the products not only to the existing merchants, but also possibly to the other EMIs, as well through the acquiring licenses and setup as a PayFax. Of course, we need to say that challenges are a part of the work in the fintech. So I just raised a little bit of a challenging question. You know, we saw the stories behind the brands on the slides. There are more. Some of them related with the local presence in Lithuania. Some are also established in UK or other European markets. But let's be clear, this year was a deal breaker for the banking as a service market. We came a bit more strict rules in the local license entities. And in my opinion, in most of the cases, there were clear misguideline on the companies, how they worked in that model. So Solaris, of course, transactive rails were among the ones. But further ado, we also seeing in UK, Modular, one of the companies that were in the sector also facing the same challenges. So I think just to kind of wrap it up, of course, we see that there is a window of opportunity. So there is clearly a need in the industry to bring the standard up. So by looking at that next banking as a service model, you know, we can think about end-to-end processes, we can think about EML in-house, not in-house, control processes, outsourcing, and so on. And my takeaway, I think, from this whole situation is that, you know, my wish for the next year actually to be that next banking as a service market leader be present or maybe with the part in Lithuania. And I think there are local players or the present companies that are on the road. What I guess we want to all wish that, I guess, supervisory also body to help those companies to actually bring the product to the market and then, educate the customers, because customers love the products of the competitors. And a lot of the cases we already also heard, from various companies that using our acquiring services, oh, in this company I can have, very quick onboarding, and then, they give me all virtual IBANs and, the roses are here. And can you do the same? Of course, the answer is typically no. And this is where we need to a little bit educate and grow with the market. So my wish, prep your best product. Don't be afraid to say no. And just, let's aim for the ambition. So I wish that this next year we see some company maybe presenting instead of me and telling the story of how we get to the market leader. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Juozas. So I'm sorry for us being maybe a little bit too lengthy, but my message is we're real, we're here, and we are growing. Thank you so much.
Right, we are running a little bit behind the schedule, but I promise to make it up through the panel discussion and let you go into the networking part on time, so don't worry about that. And therefore, without any further ado, I would like to invite our next speaker, which is always very interesting because she talks about money. So without any further ado, please put your hands together for Jone.
Thank you, thank you. Yes. So, hello, everyone. Now I finally see who is here. I came at the first row and I didn't see. I think everyone spoke a lot about money. I think this is the part where there is least money, but we will see about that. So I did that last year. I will not compare it too much to last year, but as you might know, First Pick, we are a venture capital fund. We're a very early stage, but we have some later stage venture capital funds in Lithuania, but a lot of the money is also influx from abroad. But here, what we are analyzing is the kind of the open source, the data from open deals that happened this year, and specifically we obviously focus on fintech with giving some understanding of what's happening in the market overall and how fintech is doing. And I think main message last year was that we are speaking about fintech. I think I can liaise a little bit with Greta, saying that we call ourselves Fintech Nation, or maybe even the Baltics, famous for fintech, but then venture capital data, the kind of just pure numbers, they say a bit differently. So we collected the data till November 1st, so we are missing 1 month because we started preparing early. But obviously at the beginning of January, we'll have the full year data. And very important is that we are speaking about venture capital-backed companies. So the companies that are here, for example, for the license, but they are not backed by venture capital here, are not founded by the Baltic founders, they are not included. So it's very exclusive to basically up-and-coming startups like, for example, Bankera, Lithuanian Baltic founders, being established, and I think all venture capitals missed it. So anyways. So this is exactly how much money was raised this year in venture capital in the Baltics. So I don't know if this number says anything. Last year, it was 1 billion more than that. There is obviously probably a very clear trend for that. We shouldn't get, I think, too scared because a lot of the money last year still came out of that rally of 2021. A lot of deals were signed at the beginning of 2022. And then there was a steady decline. And then if we look at the countries, the only, I think, very positive note is that we are almost nearing Estonia, which we're always lagging behind quite a lot. Latvia has raised much less, but we hear that their early stage venture capital is up and coming. But you probably know Lithuania, we were led by PVKs and NordVPN, which are neither fintechs, but anyhow, we are pretty much up there. And if we look at the fintechs, it's 30 million. that was raised this year across the Baltics. So that's not even in Lithuania, that's 30 million across the Baltics that were raised by fintechs, which is 5% of the total funding amount. So is it good or bad? I don't know. I think we'll speak on the panel maybe, but it shows a little bit, and we'll come to that at the very end, is that fintech is not this super hot market of the whole world even. So it's not very specific to the Baltics, but obviously there are some other sectors that are booming. And if we look at the fintech vertical and how that compares, so we are behind Estonia, because Estonia had this Planet 42 that raised half of the whole funding amount, and then we had some other deals that are from Lithuania, but obviously not enough to be in front. So this is, if we look by relative amount, 2% of funding in Lithuania goes to fintech. I think that's very little. The problem might be the pipeline, because what we see is actually we are getting a lot of fintechs. They are very early stage. So even if we have quite a lot of deals, if you invest 100,000, 500,000, it definitely doesn't add up to 15 million like Planet 42 or so. And zooming out a little bit again, this is how many venture capital deals happened in the Baltics this year, which is very similar to what happened last year. So really there is no steep decline or anything by this time. And Lithuania had 44 deals in total. So 44 companies were backed by venture that we know of, but I would say that we basically collect all the information possible, and also with our deals that we do ourselves. And just a little bit to show how it looks month over month, obviously there is no trend. Like, it's very difficult to say if there's a trend of decline or no. PVKs nor security obviously closed big rounds, but then month over month it's pretty similar. And most important, what I think we found most interesting is that the number of early stage deals compared to late stage deals. And that's maybe not alarming, but it shows that we are maybe again at the beginning of the cycle of the new fintechs, of new companies being set up and growing to the Series A and venture deals. But obviously almost, well over 100 deals were made in pre-seed and seed, which is investment of around 1, maybe 3 million maximum. So, and the majority of them are 500 or 100,000 euros. And we had 17 deals in fintech, that's across Baltics. So 17 fintech companies were backed, which is 13%, a little bit more percentages than in terms of the volume. And in last year, we had 20 deals by this time. So it's almost, again, the same. I wouldn't say that it's somehow very, very different, except for the fact that we have a lot of early stage deals. And this is how the countries compare. So Latvia with a little funding, but they had 4 fintech deals, and Lithuania had 6 fintech deals. Anyone remembers how many we had last year? I think that was the most staggering number, because we had pretty big amount. We had something like 70 million, but we had last year 3 deals. It was Kevin and it was 2 other smaller deals. This year we have 6, so I think that's kind of double improvement. And if we look at how, the Baltic fintechs, how much they have raised, so 2020, 32 million, 2021, we jumped quite high. We had like almost the same amount of deals, but way more money invested. This was the kind of the craziness of the 2021. And 2022, as I said, it looks like we were growing last year a lot, though I remember when I was presenting here, we already had the sentiment of the market going down. And it's true, because this year it's really in comparative amount to what fintechs have raised in the Baltics last year, even though the number of deals is almost the same. We have way smaller volume in terms of euros. And the same goes for Lithuania. Like, if not for the numbers, you wouldn't even notice it's a different chart, but that's for Lithuania. We have been growing, we had pretty steady numbers, and now we are at 6 million in 2023. In terms of the deals, I've mentioned majority of them. I think it's quite interesting to see we had some 1 million deals and then 15 million deal in June. But sadly, we didn't have any fintech deals in the last 3 months. So maybe we're still coming there. Maybe there will still happen some deals. And maybe if not announced this year, the next year, but it definitely will not change numbers very, a lot. And this is how the stage of the Baltic fintechs look like. So again, as I've said, the fintech deals, the same as any other deals, we see the tendency that it's many early stage deals. So probably it will take 3-4 years for them to mature to Series A or even more. And that's the same for Lithuania. We had 1 seed deal and 5 pre-seed deals. So it's quite funny because that we didn't have Series A, but hopefully next year we have it. Some of the funds that are investing in fintech, not some of the funds, but the funds that we have found that we're investing in fintech. So we obviously as First Pick have invested, and we are the reason there are so many early stage deals. But happy to see that 4 actually of the funds are from outside. No, maybe tier 1 funds. Like the very top ones, but I think the ones that are here, they're pretty good, and happy to see that more and more interest is in the Baltics overall. This is just a short table. You can take a look at that. That's the Lithuanian fintechs that they have raised. So we see Heavy Finance actually have raised the biggest amount from Practica Capital. That's 3 million. It's a seed round. And then we had Amlize that raised 1 million, and then a little bit smaller rounds around here. So soft loans as well that we have invested at the beginning of this year. And then I think to kind of wrap up a few last slides, so not to be very sad, the tendency is super global. The slowdown is everywhere. This is the fintech around the world. So obviously we see kind of the increase and then the drop. So it's almost the same as in the Baltics. And most interesting, we found this, I hope you see the chart well, is the change in percentage points of how much funding goes to each of the vertical. And we see that finance and insurance is actually at the very bottom, so it has decreased by 10%, whereas, for example, carbon energy, obviously, and we should be very happy about it, has boomed, as well as, for example, health, and we see that in the pipeline as well. And what investors are looking at, this is exactly how the interest kind of shapes out. So quite a few speak about fintech, but no one is so bullish about it unless they probably see a very good company. And we see those headlines around, but I think not to kind of be super pessimistic. I think good fintechs, as we saw in Lithuania, you can raise a seed round of 3 million. I think that's a very decent one. The same actually globally. So for example, Stripe raised $6.5 billion this year, right? So obviously, it's a big company, but it's not that all of the fintechs are being washed out and completely taken off the map by carbon and energy startups, where I think it's also a place for fintechs to be in the sustainability area. And just as the last slide, a little bit scattered somehow, but if we look relatively how we are doing compared to the whole world, how much of the fintech money we have raised, so it is less than 1% globally. It's not that we should be probably anywhere. It's not in the agenda, I think, of fintech strategy of Lithuania to raise a certain amount of that. But for us in venture capital, it actually is. We really want our fintechs to be funded globally, to raise much more. I somehow would assume that next year will really jump, at least in terms of fintech, but we'll see. So some deals are cooking, and I think it will get better. So thank you.
Unfortunately, does not be with us here today, but good news for you, we'll finish sooner. Well, and myself, so everyone please take your seats. I'll take one chair out. Right, and as I said, it's not my phone. Do I need it? Okay, I do. Okay, thank you. As I said, you have an opportunity to ask the panelists questions. I'm going to ask some questions as well, but you have an opportunity as well. Just the usual slide where you scan the code and you write any question you want. When I say any question you want, it's fintech related, please. Personal questions over the networking. So welcome everyone, it's so good to have you here. It's, as I say, a third time for me and every time feels very special. Since we're wrapping up the year and it's the last panel of today, I would like to keep it positive and talk about opportunities. But to warm up, I'd like you to share maybe in any particular order, whoever's first or has the microphone, to share your highlights of the year. As we're wrapping up the year of 2023, what was your highlight? Yeah. This is usually what happens in the innovation.
Somebody.
Hello. Okay, this is good enough. I don't know, for me, I think the 2023, we went into 2023 with worry, probably, right? The war in Ukraine, 2022 and whatnot. The VC, we saw the funding drying up. I think it was a year of high-profile failures in fintech. We saw a lot of those in crypto and banking and whatnot. I think that was it, right? So high-profile failures, but as we get to the end of the year, it feels optimistic. I actually, on the funding, I also checked on the global VC funding, and if you look quarter by quarter, like the third quarter is picking up again for the first time. So I think we're again on a good trend.
As a highlight, I'll focus on that, the last sentence. It's picking up, okay? Thank you. Because at the beginning I got worried.
Yeah, I can continue from my side. Do we have anybody from crowdfunding industry here? Yeah, everyone is working here. So because, yeah, 2023 for me is like the year for crowdfunding platform providers because, and Simonas already mentioned that, 12 new European market players are here, and we really have these champions, some champions that I believe that will grow very quickly, and one of first big company portfolio, Heavy Finance, is demonstrating already quite good results. So yeah, crowdfunding here, then crypto, definitely. Now we have clarity on MiCA, when it will come into force, what we can expect. And it's probably the year when Europe said, okay, we acknowledge that crypto is part of financial industry. So yeah, so love it or hate it, crypto is here to stay, and we need to deal with it somehow. And third point probably would be a banking as a service model, and you others already touched on that. So yeah, these cases as PeerNet, Modular, and others. So it clearly demonstrated that regulators across European Union will not tolerate anymore, such things as agent model without any supervision from EMI or any other parent company. So yeah, so these three highlights from my side.
Thank you. It's been a good year.
So I think I would just repeat what I said in my introduction. So of course, all of you guys here cover the business perspective, but from the policymaker perspective, I think, the guidelines is that we managed to finally make, admitting it took some time, it is the highlight, because it means that we have clear goals for 5 years, and we have a clear commitment from those who have to implement it to stick to those actions. And of course, after also Greta's indication of paradoxes, I would like to kind of have silver lining when we come to that, because also what I said, it's the process we do here, and I call it the process. It doesn't have, we can't say today we are done and it's all. It requires, a time and effort, and if we let our guard, some things can slip in. But the silver lining here is that when we are shown to these, maybe I would say, mistakes, there is no need to explain, why is it wrong? Because we have a reference where we can say, okay, we agreed on that, and some things that, are going on, they may be not in line. So, okay, get the things together and and stick to the plan. So
Mistakes as opportunities to improve.
yeah, we can call them that. But from my side, I would say, I would rather not see those paradoxes indicated to us, and we should focus on bigger challenges than, fixing some things.
You want to add?
Just want to appreciate probably that both Vaida and Simonas are here, so senior representatives from government and central bank. So it means a lot because and coming to guidelines, because guidelines is for me it's like symbolic. It demonstrates that basically government is supporting fintech. It sees fintech as a part of its some value proposition as a country itself, and it's usually representative of government or central bank coming, having this intro or welcoming speech and going to other matters. So the mere fact that you are here and you are listening to industry, some concerns maybe, challenges, it's really, really important. And it's a strength of our country, I think, comparing to other countries.
Thank you. And Yona, your highlights?
I will come, from our perspective, I would say the highlight is the talent, which is very different from what was mentioned, but I agree with everything that was said, but it's the talent. You cannot imagine how many good people are coming from operator side, from running a startup or actually working in the government, understanding all the bits and pieces of fintech and legislation, and actually going to this, I think, really unstable venture, especially in this economic times. So for me, it's extremely positive without even trying to make it positive.
Okay, thank you. My highlight was definitely the guidelines for the year. And at the moment, my highlight is that we already have 6 questions. So people, please do vote so I can choose which one to ask. Because I have questions as well, and we only have 20 minutes left or so. Right, Yona, since you had the microphone and I said that I want to turn everything into the opportunities, right? So we've seen, obviously, that the number of deals kind of the same, but the size of tickets really dropped. You kind of touched on the reasons, but maybe you want to elaborate a little bit more. What is the reason why it's going down so much?
Yeah, the ticket sizes did not drop. Actually, we got much more money in the market because we launched the fund, Practica raised the fund. There are a lot of new funds, and actually the money is in the market. The reason is that we have a lot of early stage, and the later stage is just not there. So we still need some time for them to mature. They are coming there. We had some Series A's and later rounds last year or the year before. And we just, as a market, we cannot produce that many late-stage startups. And that's not only for fintech. In many, in all of the sectors, we have a few Series A year, and all of that, everything before is early stage. But the problem would be if we wouldn't have early stage. I think that would be the problem. Now it's just that it's early stage, we invest way less in that, and probably next year we'll have the better news.
Okay, so we need more maturity.
We need more time, a little bit patience. It takes time to develop a startup.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Because that beautifully leads me to another question. Possibly I'll address this to Vaida, because it is about the Fintech guidelines, and the first 2 principles are very much about maturity, and we're going to measure it in the percentage of the revenue growth and the number of people employed and so on and so forth. So this is a very nice KPI, and now I want to hear on how. Right? What is in place or what is planned to help those companies, fintechs, early stage, to mature and maybe next year to appear in Jonas' charts as raising bigger tickets?
So this is definitely not an easy question, and there is no kind of one single answer what we do for that. So I would say, firstly, the companies grow is, the main interest for the company itself. And some companies will manage to do that. Some will succeed. Some have really talented people to do that. The others may have talented people, but the situation may not fall right to them. So firstly, for the company to grow, it's up to the entrepreneurs. And for us as a government, what we can do is we can create favorable environment, and then we can help out in some areas, in some of their ambitions. Maybe we can open some doors, but still, it is up to them to achieve it or not. And from our side, what we are intending to do is to create that favorable environment. And here we have to kind of spot and identify the main obstacles together with the market. And now when we talk with the market, sometimes these obstacles, they go beyond fintech. It's just something that, you know, we as a state have to do. Our institutions have to be either more kind of tech savvy or have easier procedures or be more clear or, you know, be more fast. And different companies can have different needs. We can't address all of them at the same time. So, of course, we have to prioritize at the main challenges. Another thing is that, you know, we have also Bank of Lithuania here, and they were, you know, one of the, you know, main partners when we developed the guidelines of regulation. Has to be clear, and we still, you know, we hear that it is not clear yet, and you know, we can work better to explain what it means or what the regulator expect, and for that we have, you know, dialogues and trainings, and we all have all that set in the guidelines. When we talk about expansion, so of course it's very nice to see the numbers that, you know, customers are growing, and it's very impressive number to say that, you know, in the European Union every 10th 1 in 10 of the adults uses services from Lithuania, and this number is, you know, very impressive for everyone outside of Lithuania who hear that, and usually they were not aware about this fact. So we also, you know, want to open more doors for export, and we have embassies, we have our trade representatives that already know what is fintech. We have our guidelines, and with some of the regions we even had briefings, you know, of how to, it's a very specific sector, so you can't you know, attract or sell a fintech and then the next day you go and sell, I don't know, attracting biotech investments to Lithuania. So we have, you know, dedicated people in Invest Lithuania to do that, to attract those companies, and we have way more knowledge in our, you know, foreign offices that also take part in that. Also, we have committed to finance at least one stand in the chosen event, which maybe may not seem, you know, a lot, but it's a very clear commitment, and not many sectors get it up front. You know, usually we have to compete, and of course, I think it's important that in those areas where you compete, you have equal grounds with other sectors. But, you know, I consider that this is something that we can, you know, we just need to, you know, talk about it, and this is something that can be solved. So these are just, you know, couple of illustrations of how we do it, but I don't want to take more of the time, but I'm, you know, happy to jump in and continue that conversation if you wish to, you know, follow.
It's great you mentioned expert, because I wanted to ask about that, but since we have market players here, we can ask, for example, Mario, so what support would you need to grow the revenues of your company 30%?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think you nailed it on the head, saying create a favorable environment. That's the keyword. Any business needs very, very clear, and we as a financial institution, right, what we really need is clarity on the boundaries, clarity in the regulation, just clarity and stability, right? So it has to be clear, has to be stable, meaning that the changes should not be abrupt. And just looking at it very practically, what I want to make sure is that the team that is driving the business and developing the business, they can clearly, you know, set a destination and run for it without being afraid of, you know, being stopped or pulled over. Oh, we need to think about this. Oh, this is a new risk. You know, we need to stop and slow down and so on and so forth. So I think the keyword is really the clear environment. I'm sure none of the businesses really expect from the institutions to drive leads or, and I appreciate, you know, being the possibility to be at certain events and whatnot, but I'm sure the business can do very well on their own if you allow them to, if you set the clear boundaries for how they should go forward, and any business will grow. And I think many of the participants of the market would agree with me, right? Just let us clearly do our job and make it stable.
And Ekaterina, what about yourself?
it's okay, yeah. I can speak from MLI's perspective. We are RegTech, regulatory technology company, so basically B2B company. So for us, yeah, besides of clarity, it's maybe regulatory landscape is not so important for us, but this export dimension and government support probably in, showing that we as a country have really good RegTech solutions and MLIs on data, identifying and many others. So it would help, and it helped the Estonians very much. We know this story that Estonian government's representatives, they just took companies and went throughout the world like demonstrating that we can help with the help of our companies to build some systems and so on. So this would help definitely. And the second thing, as we aim at becoming like an AML hub in Europe, and we beat on that, yes, on AMLA being here. So I think that this private-public partnership between RegTech solution providers and public authorities, where we can actually build some working solutions in order to manage all this fraud risk, money laundering risk, sanction evasion risk, and so on. So some sandbox solutions where we can build some pilot solution and then scale it and help other countries to overcome some challenges in anti-money laundering and terrorist financing areas. I think that that would really help us. So there are some development already and hope that it will continue on this positive trend.
It could be a great trend, I think, for Lithuania. RegTech, safe, innovative,
exactly,
ticks all the boxes, right?
Exactly. It's like win-win-win for everybody. Because when we are talking about B2C solution providers, so yes, here is the risk, and we as a country take this risk, and sometimes we it's just objectively cannot manage it. But when we are speaking about some RegTech compliance solutions, like B2B solutions, so it's like safe space where we can grow. These companies here get this funding from venture capital and scale it in not only in Europe but throughout the whole world. So I think that this area is what we should focus right now.
Okay, thank you, Mario. You want to add?
Yeah, I think one thing that you mentioned is the reputation, right? So again, to how can the institutions help is building the reputation of Lithuania, right? So building the reputation of Lithuania from the perspective of, here's AML center, this and that, RegTech, that is great because that attracts the financial institutions, right? That enriches our community, right? More institutions come. But there's another side of the reputation, right? That type of reputation is interesting for the fintechs, but what is interesting for the clients, the really big clients, I think what is really important is that we also make a switch in our mindset that servicing customers not from Lithuania or other customers is not just Lithuania taking risk. They are taking risk with us. So good established businesses are taking risk with us. And any negative PR or media that we have about how we handle things here is actually reflecting bad on us. And I can say, from personal experience, this year we've been focused on banking as a service and embedded finance, and we're going out in Europe, and we have a lot of really opportunities. One I can mention an opportunity that we lost was exactly because of that. And to give an example, it's a really well-established German company a platform that's moving into Italy, and they decided not to go with us. The reason being is that the prefix of the IBAN, and they're like, okay, well, LT is, people will not feel comfortable about sending significant amounts in there. Why? Well, because you have, this community, and there's a lot of companies being penalized and so on and so forth. So I think reputation is definitely the domain that the fintech community can be helped with, but it's divided into two. One is to attract fintech, and the other one is the reputation where the businesses actually trust doing transactions through us, with us, not the other way around, right? So yes, we take risk, as Lithuania we take risk, but also we need to understand they are risking their funds, right, their money with us, and they want to make sure that the community, the fintechs, the service providers, the regulators are really solid here, right, and stable. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that maybe sort of semi-replies. There was a question about the fines of the regulator in the sector. There's no one from the regulator sitting on the panel, so I guess you can't answer that question. But maybe what are you saying? We shouldn't boast about the fines and licenses revoked.
That could be one of the things, right? I think it's really important because to your point, right, about greatly reducing the number of crypto companies in Estonia. Where was the big PR about that, right? They just silently did it. And now the country is in much better shape, right? So I think what we need to focus on is doing it.
Yeah, I want to support that because we need to balance because it can fire back. Yeah, we as a supervisor, it should do its work. Yeah, it should apply sanctions if it needed. It should revoke licenses if it needed. But it's a matter of how we communicate about it. Whether we have this negative publicity and saying all the world that look, we just revoked one more license, and it fires back because investors from outside, they are looking and thinking something is wrong there, probably. Yeah, a lot of sanctions, a lot of licenses revocation. So we should be, balancing between this. We demonstrate that we want to make an order and to have order between this, spreading negative news about us as a country. So yeah, so very thin line between this aim and result.
So that's actually a question for you, Anna, I guess from the general view. So how is this region viewed from the investors? Because, we might have the, what we just spoke about, but we also have neighbors that are not very friendly as well. So how is the region looking from the investor's perspective? Is it worth investing in the region?
Yeah, I think geopolitically everyone understands that we are, in Europe's eyes, in US eyes, we are at war, like something like this. So they think it's just like, one step and we'll be invaded or something will happen. So I think geopolitically, we saw a decline of interest from foreign investors, though I don't think it impacts as far as if there is a good startup, they will come anyways, but they're just not super actively scouting. They're not like pushing themselves onto the market. But I think also from regulation side, there is a big demand usually to move company elsewhere, to might even look for potential licensing options elsewhere. Not to say that it's bad, but to say that there are other options besides where your heart is or where your home is. So that's where I think we have to be quite sane about it. We have to be competitive because, even our own founders, they have to go out and look for it in order to secure the funding.
Okay, so then...
Just if I may, I'd like to second that. I think on the positive note, as of summer 2022, the interest from VCs that we see firsthand, for example, had completely shut off. But what I can say on the positive note that as of, I think, August this year, like the major tier 1 VCs are again being very aggressive, actually, just calling and writing, reaching out and wanting to talk and whatnot. So I think it's definitely picking up. I think we're maybe everyone is already understanding that there is this geopolitical risk, but it's also that it's maybe controllable. And so it's really positive that we have a lot more traction, at least in terms of conversations for sure.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Just very quickly, I think also in line what I think all the government is doing and all the association. I think the startups are super important part of the ecosystem in a sense because these tier 1 funds, they don't come here because of the big event or anything. They come silently. No one even knows they're there. Like a few months ago, I was walking around in our office, and then there was Founders Fund, which is like the biggest fund that was raised by PayPal's mafia. Is like the guy sitting there in our office. I was like, "What is this?" I couldn't believe it. So they are coming because of the founders, and not because of some like big ecosystem event.
Okay, so quick question to Vaida, and then I promise I come to your questions. So we talked about a little bit about risk, but the investors still come, and we have in the strategy, this pillar, like we want to attract companies to Lithuania, but only the top guys, right, the big ones. So what is that Lithuania has to offer? apart from the geopolitical side. And I don't know, I'm joking.
First, I want to comment also about that geopolitical side. And of course, the situation we are in, it's, there is, little positive about it. But still, if, we see what we managed to do with that situation we are in, we can see some positive signs. So being at the borders, we know that we are at a way higher risk of, for example, cyber crimes. We know that we may be used and, tested for our money laundering issues just, to kind of trash our reputation. And that also gives us opportunities. For example, with cybersecurity, from the government perspective, we would probably otherwise we would never have invested so much public funds into cybersecurity. For next year, we plan to invest 50 million just in that topic through different areas, and part of this funding is going to go to our National Cybersecurity Center. And one of the things they're going to do, they're going to kind of establish this center, a hub with the financial sector, so they could kind of share information and tackle financial, various risks in the financial sector together. Before that, it would have taken way longer time, and we would, struggle with funding priorities. But now we have a situation, and we have a step. So I think this is a positive thing, and we can then, excel also in the cybersecurity area, just because it is a top priority, because we understand the need for it, and we have tools and the money. So it's very, I would say, rare that all these things fall into one place. And talking about our National Cybersecurity Center is actually a very kind of highly regarded institution, because we had NATO summit and they tested remote cybersecurity kind of operation with other cybersecurity centers, and it was a success. Apart of few small incidents in the supermarkets, nothing more than have happened. And I think we should really take pride in that, because we are not the largest country, but we had one of the most important events here, and there were a lot of attempts, but no one could go through.
Makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm coming back to this question. So I wasn't planning to talk about crypto in this panel, but thank you. I will now. So there is a question that I don't know who is the best to answer this, but perhaps you, Ekaterina, but I don't know. But anyone pick it up if you have. Do we plan to be #1 in the EU for the number of CASPs under MiCA?
I doubt so, at least judging from public or either speaking of written communication of regulatory authority. I think that it's not something that we want to focus on. I'm not sure we could, from my perspective, because it doesn't matter if CASPs will operate from Poland or Latvia and so on. We just, our customers, our consumers will still be able to use their services. It's just a matter whether we control, as a country, as a regulator, whether we control them or not. It just, I think that we could focus on that, but judging from all the circumstances right now, I am in big doubt whether we want to do that.
Okay, and actually then for Jon, a very similar question. What is the approach towards investment in crypto companies? Any interest movement? Are crypto companies included to statistics of fintech investments?
Yes, they are included, and there is interest. So I think, there are a few driving forces for that. Obviously, the legislation that's going out. So there are some new things that are being created around it. Obviously, it just very much depends if crypto, if we really see it as where you can invest in equity and develop the product rather than invest in tokens. So I think tokens is another topic. There are other funds for that. But for sure, we see increasing interest and still specified funds coming to us asking about the pipeline and looking for those startups. And we are also investing in a few that are, let's say, crypto topic related, and they are related to the legislations that are coming out.
If I didn't ask you a question, you have a perfect opportunity to do it through the networking, because I see at the clock that I have about 7-8 questions left, but I have no time. So we need to wrap up. And to wrap up on the positive note, I was just, from everything you heard today, from all the presentations you heard, you said yourself, we spoke and discussed, what is one thing that you think we should focus on next year to make it a better year? In no particular order. It's like a wish for the ecosystem.
I think let's appreciate the challenge. Let's appreciate that what we are succeeding to do and deliver in a challenging environment, in all dimensions, that we can still do it and come out on top. So appreciate the challenge. The challenge is good. We grow when we are challenged.
Thank you. Maybe you want to share the trends that you see that are going to come next year and we should pay attention to?
I wouldn't mention any trends. I think it's difficult to say of anything. Maybe I would encourage to do a bit more. Like if anyone is thinking of fintech, think of something that's related to sustainable finance or anything like that. It's just a lot of money in that pocket, but do it because you really believe it, not because there's a lot of money. But yeah, I think if we really just zoom out a little bit, like this kind of maybe dip in the market that maybe we sensed last year or this year, I think in the like big scheme of things, it's very, very small. I think we've come a very long way as a country to be where we are, to have, you know, very different people, but very, very relevant people here. And if we just continue that and make the next year this event like 3 times bigger with all the relevant people for fintech, I think that's perfect.
Thank you.
What I was thinking that, you know, the businesses that manage to maybe grow the most is those that address the biggest challenges and the biggest needs in the market. And we you know, see at the, you know, priorities of the governments, and that is also reflected in the investors' funds where they are going. So of course we know that there are several very clear trends, and you know, greening of the economy is one of them. So I think we already started at least this year to talk more about it, and we have now Green Finance Institute that is kind of new player in the ecosystem. So my wish is to find as many as possible those connecting points, the challenges that we as a state, as people, as government, as, you know, EU or NATO, that we're trying to address, and you know, help us out to solve them. And then my wish for you is, you know, find the ways to do it. And my wish for myself and my fellow institutions is, you know, to kind of enable you to do that. And, you know, let's do all those things together.
I like it. Climate and fintech and sustainability center, you know, I see a reflection here. Perfect. I would love to see more of that. And
yeah, shortly, just my wish is to see more collaboration between different stakeholders, because in the end of the day, our goal is the same, basically. We all want some wealth to our country, to our people, and it just, you know, it's there is nothing to argue about, and sometimes it's too much, you know, these fingers pointing. I think that we need to focus on, okay, let's create some better things together, rather than just arguing what you are doing wrong or what you are doing wrong. So it's just wishful thinking. And on trends, definitely it's like crypto will be next year a topic that will require a lot of attention of everybody, probably who's in the market. Then green financing, we didn't touch this topic today, but it's I think that fintech is having a huge opportunity to focus on this green financing area. We already see some business models operating in green financing area. I think that fintech should explore it more. And third, definitely AI. It's again, it's something that, okay, something may be fashionable, but it is indeed already something that is being used by the companies, MLIs included. We use artificial intelligence in our fraud prevention, anti-money laundering solutions. So yeah, so these 3 topics I think that will be escalated next year.
Thank you. And the thought that you said, I think is beautiful to finish on, which is, let's always remember that we're working for the same goal, which is to have Lithuania as a fintech country with a green twist. So thank you very much. Please thank the panel discussion with Thank you very much. And now I would like to remind that you can get the tickets, but please don't run away yet. I know that you're so eager, the last bit, you're so eager to start the networking, which I've already seen that it started. So you should know who is behind this networking party. And here I would like to invite Lars from Huddlestock, the new kid on the block, to play around and tell us about themselves and invite you to raise a glass later on. Thank you.
And I could see that you're almost impossible to impress anyway. So we'll try to do that. I'll just sponsor some drinks, and then I'll be very, very quick. And I think maybe I'll just skip the presentation. Just say, if you are a company that doesn't have an investment banking license, then you can use our services. If you do have a license, then you can use our software. If you are a bank, then we also have software. Come see me after this, and I'm sure we'll figure something. If you just want to talk about the Nordics, the Baltics, and we're from Copenhagen, we're a Norwegian company, so come see us out there. Thank you.